What's going on, family and friends? Welcome back to My Thoughts Uncut. I am your host, Terrence Manning. We're going to take a look at Nancy Pelosi finally retiring. Yes, she's hanging it up. We're going to also look at the different media outlets and what they have to say about her. Also, Trump, he has his 2 cents about her retiring. And we're going to take a flashback of 96 Pelosi. You'll be shocked to see what she had to say back then. Let's take a look.
In a video posted on social media, Pelosi's thanking the people of San Francisco and urging them to keep fighting to make the country a better place.
I will not be seeking re-election to Congress. With a grateful heart, I look forward to my final year of service as your proud representative. As we go forward, my message to the city I love is this: San Francisco, know your power. We have made history, we have made progress. We have always led the way, and now we must continue to do so by remaining full participants in our democracy and fighting for the American ideals we hold dear.
ABC's Jay O'Brien's on Capitol Hill with more. Jay, why make this announcement now?
Yeah, Diane, Nancy Pelosi saying she won't run for re-election because of, in part, or at least it made today, because it comes after Election Day. Nancy Pelosi was integral in Prop 50 in California. That was that redistricting effort in that state that was successful, redrawing the state's congressional maps to try to get 5 additional Democratic seats. And Nancy Pelosi's office signaled that she would release a decision about what would be next for her after Election Day. And now that this video comes out, it is the turning of a very significant page here on Capitol Hill. Someone who had an iron grip on the Democratic caucus when she was Speaker of the House. Someone who's been in caucus, rather in Congress, since the late 1980s. She was the first female Speaker of the House.
Here's what I think. She was definitely very powerful for the Democratic Party. Everything went through her. Also, she was in Congress way too long. She's been there for 40 years. She got in Congress in 1987. That is way too long for a Congress member to be in Congress. They need to have terms, just like the president has terms. I think they should have 8-year terms. That's it. Max 8 years. There's no way you can stay in Congress that long and not turn corrupt, not allegedly take bribes. And you can tell from when certain Congress members first started their careers in Congress that they totally did a 180 nowadays. And that's just my thoughts, my opinions. Let me know what you guys think about that, but we'll continue.
Known for, as she said in that video there, reminding Democrats time and time again, particularly women in Congress, to know their power, to know their strength, and to know how they can get things done. Nancy Pelosi is seen as someone who was able to bend the Democratic caucus really to her will and get things done up here on Capitol Hill. One more point here. We don't know what will happen now with this seat. We don't know who is next in line for it. There's speculation up here on the Hill, but we're already starting to see some reaction trickling in from Democrats, because there were some who expected this announcement, remarking so consistently, Diane, on Nancy Pelosi's strength.
I honestly think that it's a big blow for the Democratic Party. And I think she also kind of got pushed out by the extreme leftists in that party. I think it's a civil war in that party, and they're trying to push out the old guards. I believe that Hakeem Jeffries is also going to be up next, along with Chuck Schumer. They're going to get primaried. AOC is going to take Chuck Schumer's spot. That's basically what's going to happen. But let's see what Fox News and Trump has to say about this retirement announcement.
I have truly loved serving as your voice in Congress, and I've always honored the song of St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace, the anthem of our city. That is why I want you, my fellow San Franciscans, to be the first to know. I will not be seeking re-election to Congress.
And that video posted to X moments ago, Nancy Pelosi announcing she will not seek re-election. Peter Ducey is live at the White House. He's got exclusive first reaction from the president. These two have
tangled a bit in the past, Peter.
Yes, and I just chatted with President Trump about this breaking news that Nancy Pelosi will be leaving Washington. He tells me the following, and this is a quote. "The retirement of Nancy Pelosi is a great thing for America. She was evil, corrupt, and only focused on bad things for our country. She was rapidly losing control of her party, and it was never coming back. I'm very honored. She impeached me twice and failed miserably twice. Nancy Pelosi is a highly overrated politician." And so that is the first word.
I agree with everything he said, minus overrated politician. I think for her party, she did phenomenal, because you got to be you got to call spade a spade. You have to be objective about this. She was actually phenomenal for her party. She got things done for her party. Now, I don't like what she stands for, but in terms of her actually getting shit done and being for a Democratic Party, she stood 10 toes down. Now, I do think she is not good for America. So I definitely agree with Trump about that. He definitely is right about how she tried to impeach him twice. And she was the reason why National Guards were not sent when this whole J6 incident happened. Trump asked for it a day or 2 days before, and she refused to let it happen. So she's responsible of that, and she even admits it in a video that I believe I saw it on X or YouTube. So yeah, Trump is definitely right, but that guy's a nut. You gotta love that guy.
But definitely not the last word from President Trump about this, because about 90 minutes from right now, we do expect to see him in the Oval Office. The two of them, of course, throughout his entire first term, had historic battles, whether it was over funding, whether it was over his impeachment. The two of them did not get along at all, but like many historic figures here in Washington, President Trump will outlast her here in town.
Damn right, he's gonna outlast all of them. All right, we're gonna hear what CNN has to say about this.
There were people who respected her legislative ability and, being a political boss. I mean, she was the boss of her conference.
Nancy D'Alessandro.
And there is, for political operators, a lot of respect for that. I'll tell you this, I don't know how much we raised over the years off of sending out fundraising appeals based on Nancy Pelosi, but it was a metric butt ton. I'm telling you right now, putting Nancy Pelosi in fundraising mail or fundraising emails would always produce. And by the way, it's not often that someone can become a titan of both Washington and Wall Street. Republicans will remember her as one of the most successful and prolific day traders. She beat the S&P 500 by 550.
What?
9%. Successful and prolific day traders. She beat the S&P 500 by 559%.
559%. She beat the S&P 500. I don't think you people understand, family. This is not AI. We don't have any kind of technology that can do that. There's no advanced AI technology that's out today that can compete with the 550+% better than the S&P 500. You're winning at a rate where you just put in your numbers and then that's it. So come on, she definitely was part of insider trade. She had knowledge. There were people literally following her husband on, I believe, X, formerly known as Twitter, to see what he would put in stocks every day. This is outrageous. Like, that's what she's going to be known for, at least in my eyes. This is crazy.
In her stock portfolio, she's worth a lot of money. She did an amazing job. So what a blow for the financial houses today on Wall Street. I'm sure they're mourning.
Just getting in an elbow, right?
Yeah, really trying to get in some opposition research. That's a classic Scott Jennings, by the way.
And he's right. Scott Jennings is absolutely right, because congressmen and women at one time, they made about 175, I think, and then now it might be up to $250,000, 250, which is a lot of money, and they're still getting paid, by the way, while the shutdown's going on. But let's stay on track. So $250,000 you make yearly. How do you retire with over $100 million in net income? She is worth $100 million at the very least. How is that possible? If you're not doing insider trading, if you don't have lobbyists giving you money for certain things that they want to push, certain agendas, certain policies. This is why terms should be 8 years for these people. These members should have 8-year terms, and they should not exceed a certain age when they're in Congress as well. This is outrageous. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back in the day, back in the future. We're going to go back to 1996, Nancy Pelosi. And this is going to be a little eerie because she sounds like someone that we all know. Take a look.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status for several reasons that I'd like to go into now.
Sounds familiar?
I'd like to call the attention of our colleagues to this chart on the status quo that the business community is asking each and every one of us to endorse today. Right now, we have a $34 billion trade deficit with China, the 1995 figure. It will be over $40 billion for 1996. Since the Tiananmen Square massacre, this figure has increased 1,000%, from $3.5 billion then to about $34 billion now. In terms of tariffs, I think it's interesting to note that the average U.S. MFN tariff on Chinese goods coming into the United States is 2%, whereas the average Chinese MFN tariff on U.S. goods going into China is 35%. Is that reciprocal?
Sounds familiar.
On exports, China only allows certain industries into China, of U.S. Industries into China, and therefore only 2% of U.S. exports are allowed into China. On the other hand, the U.S. allows China to flood our markets with a third of their exports, and that'll probably go over 40%. And it's limitless because we have not placed any restriction. In terms of jobs, this is the biggest and cruelest hoax of all. Not only do we not have market access, not only do they have prohibitive tariffs, not only are our exports not let in very specifically, but China benefits with at least 10 million jobs from U.S.-China trade. The president, in his statement requesting this special waiver, said that China trade supports 170,000 jobs in the United States, 170,000 jobs, whereas our imports from China support 10 million jobs at least. Fact is that U.S.-China trade is a job loser. And one of the reasons that it is because first let me just make another point, and that is that our colleagues on the other side of this issue will say the trade with China, exports to China have increased 3 times in the last 10 years. They have. But they fail to mention that imports from China have increased 11 times, thereby leading to this huge trade deficit. The other issue, in addition, if intellectual property is a $2 billion, $3 billion loss, technology transfer is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. If you want to sell to China.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Kind of sounds like Trump and what he was saying about China with these tariffs and all these other nations about tariffs and how we're getting the bad end of it. Secondly, Nancy kind of looked kind of good. I ain't gonna lie. She looked kind of good back in 96. I'm just saying. But also, let's back on track. This is what she used to stand for. She was for the workers in America. She was for America. She was for the people. She wasn't as far left as she is now. So what happened? That 1996 feisty, I'm for the workers, I'm for America, Nancy Pelosi. What happened to that Nancy Pelosi? Now, 2025 Nancy Pelosi, who is not about the same thing. People, Democrats, If you're watching this, and I know you are, this is what they do to you. They flip the script, they lie to you. This is exactly what Trump was campaigning on and what he was saying about tariffs. And all of a sudden, these people are trying to say, oh, he's wrong about it. But she was doing this many, many, many years ago. Let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, of course. Hit that notification bell. And I see you guys next time. Peace. Hey, I'm telling, she looked kind of good. I don't know what you're saying. She looked kind of good.